The impact you're talking about in Asia and particularly in China, is this all about demand, or is there a supply side impact on your business as well?
Well, we do expect impacts on both sides, but we see the most severe impact clearly on the demand side. Or you already mentioned the month of February being difficult for the automotive industry. Same is true for fashion retail in China, due to the fact that on average during the course of the month, 60% of our POS were closed, the rest operating on very limited operating hours. We have seen a significant drop in visitors in this market. We are now in the beginning of March. We see the first signs of normalization. Less than 20% of our stores are still closed, but it's clear that visitor numbers, traffic to our stores has not returned to the normalized levels. And as you already mentioned, as part of our guidance, we do not expect a normalization before the mid of this year, so over the summer. On the supply side, most of our suppliers are back in operation, so we have seen no disruption in terms of product shipments, availability of our products. Of course, we're monitoring the situation also very closely. Also, fashion industry is a highly globally integrated system with first and second tier suppliers around the globe. But so far, we have seen no disruption on the supply side of our business.
That was exactly what I was going to ask, Mark. And also, if you've considered changing, your supply chain, altering it at all, do you have now contingency plans, or did it function well enough that you don't need to do that kind of planning?
Actually, now it's a stress test for contingency plans. I mean, this is not the first health crisis to hit us. SARS is already a couple of years back. But this is, I think, good housekeeping to be prepared for such a situation. So we do have fallback option on certain supplies in terms of capacity. Please keep in mind that we also have significant production capacity in Europe. Turkey is a very sizable plant that's operated by us. So we do have contingency plans for these cases. If there's a major disruption in traffic or in transportation, clearly this will at least short-term increase prices. But I'm very happy with the plans that our teams have developed over the last years are now being put to the test. And on the supply side, I'm very happy to report that we have seen very minor disruption to our business.
You've clearly seen disruption to the Asian business. What are you expecting? What's your worst case planning looking like for Europe, Mark, as we watch the numbers of corona cases here escalate?
You're absolutely right. We have to monitor the situation almost on a daily basis, as we have seen an increase or stabilization in cases in Europe. Italy is clearly now the country where we're seeing the most severe impact. So the clear impact is that Chinese are not traveling outside of the country, so this is affecting any city or countries which has a major exposure to Chinese tourism. Relative to many of our peers, this is an important but a significantly smaller part of our business compared to other luxury players, but this is one impact that we see. And also, take, for example, Japan and Korea, domestic consumption is also affected by the fact that local consumers are reluctant to shop if there's believed to be exposed to Chinese tourism. So that's, I would say, a secondary factor that. What we do to mitigate that is, of course, be smart and prudent in terms of our inventory allocation. So we have already started end of January to redirect inventories that was initially bought and destined for the Asian markets to Europe and North America. By the way, we see a very robust development already starting in the fourth quarter for Hugo Boss in North America. So we're working on our comeback in this market. And this is further fueled by redirecting inventories and merchandise to this market. So that's some of the beauty of our balanced global business system, that we have the capabilities to redirect relatively quickly merchandise to these markets where we see better opportunities to sell them.
You mentioned rising prices, Mark, as one of the results of the supply issues. And I spoke with Jens Weidmann at the Bundesbank on Friday. He also said he could imagine this kind of scenario. Do you think we'll see any inflation that you pass on to consumers due to the coronavirus?
Well, I think Jens is far better to comment on that than for me in this industry. I think for fashion, I would see, if at all, very short-term effects to that, because you will have both the fact that some industry players will be sitting on overstocks, which would rather drive, which we do not like, but might happen, discounts to clear excessive spring-summer merchandise. On the other hand, we might see some industry players with disruption, either on production or supply chain, which would limit product availability. I think these effects will more or less balance them out. And as we embedded our guidance that the world will return to a more normalized level over the course of the summer, I don't expect any permanent or significant impact in terms of price or inflation effects from this crisis, at least in the fashion industry.